Allison, thank you so much for joining us and inviting us to HOTELette. It is so gorgeous here. It's like a blogger's paradise, or like my paradise.
Well, thank you for having me.
So your career journey is so interesting. In all of the conversations that we've had, you're so down to earth, even though you've accomplished so much. And can you tell us a little bit about some of the skills that you learned along the way, some of that grit that you had to develop?
So I have a degree in advertising, which I kind of use now at HOTELette with advertising and the PR. But I sold copiers on Wall Street. I also sold radio advertising. I was the director of marketing for an automotive company. I had a lot of different sales and marketing jobs before taking the plunge into interior design.
Do you feel like that helped you now, like with your business as an entrepreneur, just like learning all those hats and how to
For sure.
put it all together?
And I think that I always worked at big companies, like Fortune 500 companies, and I think that learning the skills at all of those companies has been really valuable, applying them to HOTELette and my design firm.
At the time when you were working those jobs, how did you feel about them? Did you see it like that? Were you like, I'm learning these skills for future, or were you just like not into it?
I think selling radio was really fun because it was back in the day when everyone listened to the radio, and I got free concert tickets and all my friends worked there. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Selling copiers on Wall Street, not as glamorous. And
you're like, understatement. You have to tell everybody the story of the copiers like getting, in the crosswalk in New York. Oh, God.
So our office was in Midtown, and every day we had to wear a full suit. And this was in the mid-2000s when fax machines were still relevant and copiers were still relevant. And I was in my full suit going down to Wall Street from Midtown, and I was on Broadway with a dolly and a fax on it, and we're crossing Broadway, and the fax machine fell off of the dolly. It was in the middle of the crosswalk of Broadway. It was a nightmare.
That gives me anxiety just like thinking about it. I was trying to like panic and like dart. Like, no, what do you do?
And getting kicked out of buildings.
Oh,
and
my gosh.
We had to make 50 in-person cold calls a day in a full suit on Wall Street. In those buildings, this was post 9/11, and so the buildings were super secure, and they didn't want random copier sales people coming through,
You're like, great. So now there's like that barrier.
Right.
Oh,
there were lots of barriers.
Gosh.
But I said if I could do it for a year, I could do anything.
Why a year?
Just because I felt like that was a good milestone.
Yeah.
So, and now I apply. Now I can take no as an answer all the time and push through.
Nothing develops you like that.
Right. I could sell anything, or it really boosted my work self-confidence and my sales self-confidence.
What would your advice be for them if they're like feeling like they need to develop more confidence in the workplace and maybe they're lacking resilience? What would you tell them?
Well, I think that being an entrepreneur looks so glamorous, but I really think you should start off at other companies and hone your skills and see how other companies function, and then take those skills and apply them to your own company. And I don't think that everyone has the skill set or the desire to be an entrepreneur, and it's so on trend right now.
It is so on trend. It's everywhere now.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with going and working for someone, and I think that that's sometimes, it's definitely the safer option.
Right, exactly. Because we've talked about what really happens as an entrepreneur, like all the stress, all the bills, all that stuff is on your shoulders. So it might sound cool or look good on Instagram, but the reality is that it's super complicated.
Right, and you have to wear so many different hats.
So many.
And when you work at a different company, you really only have one role, and you can call HR if you have issues, or you can call the marketing department, or you can call a VP. I have people that message me and they're like, can I talk to your HR person? And I'm like, yeah, you're talking to her.
Yeah, that's me. Hello. What can I help you with?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another one of the things that just I think is so charming about you. You're so down to earth and real about like your journey and supporting other women on their journeys and not judging ourselves or other people. Will you share with our viewers like your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's really important. That's one of the reasons why I continue to do the things that I do, is that I do want to inspire people, but I also want them to know that it's not always easy out there. It's not always easy street.
Mm-hmm. Although, according to Forbes, Allison, you're like the person who's the trailblazer, like who has completely disrupted the market, who is, you know, at the cutting edge of what is happening and what's going to continue to happen. So like, I think that that's human nature though, right? Like, and if someone like you even feels that way, like that makes me feel better. Mm-hmm. I think it should make all of us feel better, because I think it's just like how we are as people, unless you're like, you know, a raging narcissist. Like,
right.
You know, you have self-doubt, and that's okay. And it's good to talk about it, I think, with other women so that we can comfort each other. And
it's not to be confused with a lack of confidence. Mm-hmm. It's not a confidence issue. It's just I don't like being stagnant in the situation. I always want to keep growing, and I always want to evolve. And what's the next best thing for HOTELette? And what's the next step?
In your journey, do you feel like you've always had to really be that driving force, like just keep pushing it forward? Is that
how you I mean, who else is going to do it? Yeah. If I'm not doing it.
It's really me, yeah.
And then I have a team, and so if I'm not always pushing forward, I can't expect them to. Mm-hmm. I'm the leader, and people will act based on your actions.
Yeah. That's a wonderful thing to remember, because I think especially like when we fall into a state of stress, you know, it's sometimes we lose those leadership qualities, and I think that's really like the make it or break it thing, because no one can do it alone.
And that's one of the signs of a strong leader, is not letting your team know when you're really stressed. Mm-hmm. And there have been so many instances where I will have inside I'll be like melting with a situation, and my whole team will be around, but they don't see it. Mm-hmm. You have to, in those moments, realize that you are the leader of the situation, and if you melt in front of them, they're going to melt too. Mm-hmm. You have to do it authentically.
Right.
But that's one of the signs of a strong leader.
So how do you handle that? Like, do you just, in the moment, tell yourself, like, okay, I'm going to, like, think through this later on my own? Or do you, like, go and meditate?
No, like, I think the best way to do it is to collaborate. And if I can't figure out how to get from A to B, someone on my team will, and where we can sit down and think about it together. And then usually we get to B, or we always get to B. If I don't know how to do it, then you just ask around. I mean, you have to ask other people for help, which is hard for me.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that, because it's like there's so much humility that has to happen. I think it's a few things. Like, it's humility that you have to be able to do that, but also I think it's like the pressure that we put on ourselves to feel like we have it together, and like if other people don't think we have it together, like we're doing something wrong. Mm-hmm. You know, it's almost like we push ourselves too hard rather than letting ourselves be real.
I mean, I think that there's so much pressure just to be the perfect person, the perfect wife, or the perfect CEO, or the perfect mom, or there's just so much pressure out there, and so much shame too. So much shame.
And we were talking about that with, you're about to be a mom, which is so exciting and amazing and beautiful. And, you're just sharing with me, like, how you feel about that and some of the life adjustments. Like, what's your mindset around, bringing that into your life as you have this business and all these other things going on?
So I think I've applied some of my work habits to having this baby. Like, I have a Google Doc with...
Nice. I know. This is how we do.
Like, in case I need a night nurse, here are some night nurse contacts.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I'm really going into it with knowing I want to be prepared. Mm-hmm. But I don't know how you really fully prepare for something like this. So I'm trying to be as mentally and physically prepared as I can, but I'm also going in it knowing that there are going to be some curveballs. So I don't know. I think there's finding the balance between the two.
Yeah. And then like when it comes to, you know, like the shaming or the societal pressures, what is it that you're kind of like, what's your philosophy on that? Because especially as a business owner, you know, I'm sure that that's something that's on your mind, just feeling like, oh, I have to be everywhere all the time. You know?
Yeah. So I try not to give into those. Like you know, we're in the South and people usually get married earlier here.
Yep.
I never gave into that. I waited, and now I'm waiting to have a kid. And so I think there are pros and cons to that, but I try not to let social norms get in my way.
I love that. I love it. And said like an Aquarius right there. No, like, I mean, I think that's so cool because like if you do let social norms stop you, you're never going to really be your authentic self.
Exactly. And then you're just going to be like everyone else. It's like, be original.
Or like
be yourself.
Angry and depressed and like no fun to be around.
Right.
Because you like hate life. Yeah, like, I mean, I think that, you know, so when we were talking about societal norms and pressures before and like, you know, how you met your husband and like your story, I love that you kept coming back to it's about non-judgment. Like, what's right for me might not be right for you. What's right for you might not be right for me. And I think as women, we have to remind ourselves all the time to treat ourselves that way and each other. And it's something I think that it's hard because I think we forget.
Yeah, judgment kills.
Judgment is death.
It is death.
It's complete death.
So I try not to judge myself and be too hard on myself. That's why I'm going into the motherhood thing with not zero expectations, but I just want to go with the flow and not say that it's going to go a certain way because it's probably not going to go that way.
That's cool. I think that it's hard to have that self-awareness in moments of transition. So like that's really cool that you're already thinking that way.
But I think that's when you were asking me what my light is.
Yes. What's your light? So many.
It's really easy for me to adjust.
Okay.
And I've always moved a lot. Like every year, every 2 years, I've moved, and it's just easy for me to constantly change and evolved. And chaos doesn't scare me, and change doesn't scare me. You know, a lot of people don't like change. My husband doesn't either.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could move every year and be fine.
That's really cool. And I bet that helps you with your business because entrepreneurship is so, like, I feel like things are popping up all the time, you know, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like you learn as you go, no matter how great your team is, no matter how talented you are as a person, like, that's like the name of the game, right? So I think being adaptable is really, that's amazing. What else are you most excited about in your life right now with HOTELette? I mean, you've built this amazing company.
Well, we have, I've been working on some collaborations, and I would like to open another location. I want it to continue to grow and grow. It's just figuring out what steps to take.
Where do you think that your fourth might be?
I've been looking at a few different markets. So right now we're in Austin, Dallas, and Nashville. And we could open another one in one of those markets and have multiple HOTELettes in one of those markets. So that's an option because we already have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And that building that infrastructure and the team around a HOTELette is a big undertaking. So, but I would love to be in places like New Orleans or Charleston.
Yeah. Just bring some like different elements.
Or Santa Fe. I mean, there are lots of places I would like to have HOTELettes.
I think that you will end up being in all of those places and more. And I can't wait to visit every single one of them.
I hope so. We'll see. I also, you also have to be okay with staying small. I know you said that I'm not small, but I consider HOTELette to be a small company. And I think that's okay too.
Yeah. I was reading the Forbes article about you, and in the piece they were talking about how, you were sharing that small growth is what helped you to remain authentic, and like you were really talking about the positives of that. Will you share some of that with us? And
Well, small growth because I have a team, but it's not a huge team. If I had more people, we would be able to grow faster. And I think it's so authentic because I really have my hands in every single thing. I mean, from booking to housekeeping to marketing, to the HOTELette shop. I mean, I curated the whole HOTELette shop.
It's amazing.
So I think that's the key to staying authentic, is to have, and I built the brand. So who's a better person than me to continue to, I don't know, I could have had my hands in everything.
Yeah.
But part of growing the company and scaling is letting go and delegating. So you have to find a balance between the two, which is hard.
Yeah, no, that is hard. When did you first start delegating? Was there like a certain point that you reached and you were like, okay, it's time for me to like...
When I was losing my mind.
Okay, well, there we go. That's a good time.
No. So I started...
You're like, no,
but really...
just a little.
So I started with Allison Crawford Design, and then a few years into that, I opened HOTELette. And so I already had people working for me with the design firm. So then people that were already working for me started helping me with HOTELette. And there isn't anyone else that is doing what we're doing.
Right, yeah.
So there wasn't a playbook to follow, but we just kind of figured it out.
Well, and now it's like just blowing up. I mean, I went to one of the events that you had at the HOTELette Dallas location. It was a beautiful event. Everybody's so excited. It was so much fun. Like all these influencers were there. It's like so, Instagrammable and I mean, really, you're on the pulse of the trend. And so it's really exciting to see a woman also using her creativity to, make a super successful business that's getting, it's kind of shaking up the market. And like, I think you're a huge trailblazer for everybody who wants to be creative or who has a dream to do something a little bit different.
I do want to be on the forefront of the hospitality industry, and the goal of HOTELette is to fill the void in the market between a common Airbnb and a boutique hotel. And we really are geared towards women 25, 45 that are traveling with a big group of girls, and they'll come stay here, and there'll be 10 or 12 of them, and they want to be able to cook in their kitchen and hang out in the backyard, and they want common areas to gather. Because when I was, when my friends were getting married in our early 20s, Airbnb didn't exist, and so we would rent blocks of hotel rooms, and have bridal showers on the beds in someone's room. And now you can have showers here and bachelorette parties here, and you can gather and cook together and sip on wine and hang out in the backyard.
And it's like a location that looks like, it's right out of like a magazine. So like how often do you really get to have that experience? Like never. To go into a place that's been designed just with like women in mind, for it to be beautiful and fun. Like I think that, it's really exciting. Like I am obsessed. That's why I was like, we've got to film our first episode in Austin here with you, because this is exactly what, the show's about too. Women getting together, us enjoying our lives and learning and growing and sharing. Just even from our talks, like it's uplifted me in so many ways, because I think that like there's something really special about women sharing our truth with each other. So.
I want people to leave here feeling inspired, whether it's to travel more or to go home and redecorate, or it's like you want to inspire women to be the best version of themselves.
You also do need like a support structure to do that, and I think that having a home that reflects you and helps you to be creative is like really, really important. Because if you go home to a space that doesn't feel like you or makes you feel depressed, it's going to be hard to to do all these other things that you also want to do in your life. And you have some good thoughts on the mindset thing. I think you said a cluttered closet is a cluttered mind.
Oh, so I'm not naturally an organized person. I mean, my mom, I was so messy growing up.
Same. It's so bad.
But I've learned that organization is a skill. I mean, some people are born with it, but it's really a skill that you can teach yourself. So
teach us, master.
I'm not even a master. But it's really hard for me to be around clutter. And last year I read Marie Kondo's Tidying Up, the book.
She's so cute.
Oh my gosh, it totally changed my home life.
Really?
We listened to the audiobook on our honeymoon in Iceland. And I came home and I locked myself in the house for 5 days and went Marie Kondo all over the house.
Oh my gosh.
It's a game changer.
So how did it make you feel?
It makes you feel lighter, and the less things you have, it doesn't weigh me down. And I think I mentioned this, I had a sister that passed away in 2010, and I had a bunch of her boxes that I had carried through so many moves, and they were in the garage, and every time I pulled up in the garage, I always saw them, but I didn't have it in me to go through them.
I can't imagine. It was
So I finally went through them. And I gathered everything that I wanted, and I discarded the rest. And it was just like it was the best free therapy ever. And you feel so much lighter. And now that I don't drive into the garage and see all of those boxes anymore. I just think a cluttered home leads to a cluttered mind, or even a cluttered office really affects your productivity.
It can become a disaster really fast.
Again, the key is to do it and to keep on top of it. Like, I make sure that my house is tidy in the morning and at night. Because if you do it in small increments, you don't have to spend an entire Saturday afternoon doing it.
So how long do you spend in the morning?
Like 10, 15 minutes.
Okay. Do you set a timer?
No, but I have my routine.
Okay, what's the routine? Will you share the top secret routine so we can all start living like you?
So I really am into developing habits, and I've done a lot of research on, not research, I've read a lot of books about developing habits. And there's something called habit stacking.
Okay.
And so you start with one habit, whether it's brushing your teeth in the morning.
A good one.
It's a good one.
We should all do that.
So you brush your teeth, and then my next habit is I take the dogs downstairs and I let them out.
Okay.
And then I feed their water bowl, and I feed them. And then I start making tea for myself, let the dogs back in, and then I clean up the house a little. And then I go get ready.
That's nice.
So
like
it's
the same
stacking
thing every day,
and
it just kind of like flows.
That way you don't have to think about it.
Oh, that's nice.
So you start with one habit, and then you start stacking other habits on top of it. And start with an easy one, like obviously everyone has to brush their teeth in the morning.
I mean, it's recommended.
It's recommended.
So what do you do about, this isn't a very glamorous topic, but I think that a lot of us can relate to this problem. What do you do with like laundry? Because that'll pile up when you're busy.
That's another thing with the Marie Kondo
What does Marie
method.
do?
I discarded so many clothes.
Oh.
Like right now, I think I told you I only have about 7 pregnancy outfits.
That's very minimalist chic of you. I didn't know, because your aesthetic is so glamorous.
I know.
So, wow, you're an enigma wrapped in a riddle, but we love it. But it's all very...
No, it's working for right now. We'll see.
That's cool. So you have just like a few key pieces that you love, and then do you have like a certain day just on the weekend where you're like, okay, this is my laundry time, and you just do it? That's great. And then what about like, how do you, because, okay, so Marie Kondo talks about like, you only keep what sparks joy, right?
Right.
Do you do that also?
Yes, I mean, that's how you edit your wardrobe.
Oh, that's so hard. I'm about to move to Austin, and I need to edit a bunch of things, and I'm dreading it.
I got rid of probably half my wardrobe, and some of it, I put it into 2 piles. One for Goodwill, and one for that I was going to consign. Whatever clothes that store wouldn't take, I donated.
Nice.
And if I was to do it again, I would donate to a women's shelter. So
yeah, that's nice. So we'll do that.
Definitely
We'll
do
take that tip. We'll take that advice. I just think that everything, that you stand for, Allison, just being as chic and fun as you are, but also as down to earth and honest, you know, with your fellow women. It's wonderful to meet someone like you and to have you on the show, and for you to be willing to open up and share those parts of your journey that, you know, maybe people wouldn't know if they just first met you. So thank you for opening up to us. And
No, thank you. And when we talked on the phone yesterday or the day before, and you said that you had read all of my articles and listened to all of my podcasts.
I was.
I think that's
it's like creepy.
That shows so much about your about you and the way you conduct business. I think that that's great. I whenever people reach out to me, if they don't know one personal thing about me, sometimes I won't reply back if I don't have time.
Right.
But you took the time to, I mean, you already knew me, but you took the time to research and to learn about Alice, about myself and about HOTELette. And I think that showed me a lot.
Thank you. That means a lot. That does mean a lot. Well, we appreciate it and can't wait to continue to follow your growth and the growth of HOTELette and to stay here as often as we can because it's so beautiful.
And your expansion into Austin.
I know, it's coming. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
I love it here, so I hope you love it here
too.
I
love it here already. And having you as the first person on the show is like, I mean, we're coming out of the gate with a bang. It's going to be hard to beat. Hard to follow up, I should say, not to beat. No, I'm super excited about just being here, and I love the energy and how people are so open and willing to explore, you know, their growth and friendliness and just collaborative. I've already just had such a warm welcome, and I'm not even really fully moved here yet. So I'm excited. This is a very special place.
I love it here.
Well, thank you, Allison. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So to be able to get the HOTELette experience, you know, in our own lives and with our friends, how can we book? What do we do?
Okay, you can go to hotelette.com to book. And then if you want to follow us on Instagram, we're at HOTELette.
And how do we follow you on Instagram? Because you're super inspiring.
I'm at Allison.Crawford.
Okay, perfect. Well, we will be all over it.